So now let's work around with the adjust options inside of Pixlr. To access adjust option, you go on to the left side over here where it says adjust right over here. So let me just click on this and see what options it provides. So you can see right over here that there's color options right here, light and toning options right over here. So let's see what all of them does. But before that, over here on the top, you can see that there's auto fix as an option. So if I were to click that, it tries to fix out some of the things. So there's not much change, as you can see right here. If you were to go back right over here, so if we were to undo and redo, there's not much change, but it did change the vibrance a bit over here. So let's work around with what each of them are right over here. So you can turn the photo black and white by sliding on this option right over here. So that makes everything black and white right over here. And the other option you have is invert right over here, which just inverts out the picture. So we'll work around that again, but over here, let's work around with the color first. So there's saturation and there's vibrance, as you can see right over here. If you were to increase the saturation, all of the saturation increases, as you can see. So you can see that the color over here increases, the color over here increases, and so forth. But if you were to increase the vibrance, what happens is that the saturated area, the already saturated, that is the already color rich area, are unaffected, while the areas which does not have much color is more affected right over here. As you can see right here, it balances out the color as I increase the vibrance right over here. So if I want to make a picture more vibrant, that is more balanced in color, I can increase the vibrance a bit and decrease the saturation a bit. So you can see that it is more of like a balance. So you can see that this is the before and this is the after, as you can see. So let me just increase the saturation. This is the before and after. There's a bit of a change, as you can see right over there. So just like that, I have the vibrance worked out. The other option I have is saturation, so it increases color as we discussed, and the other one is the temperature. So I can make the overall environment look cool as if we are on a winter season and if we are on a warm weather. So whenever you go out on a sunlight, you see like yellow color. That's why you tend to think that yellow colors are warm, while when it is cloudy or when it is snowy, then the environment is quite blue. So you tend to think it is cooler if you were to do this, just like that. So you can make it cooler, your environment cool, or you can make your environment warm as per you like. So I'm gonna make it a bit more cooler right over here and increase the saturation just like this. The other option you have is tint, so you can make your picture a bit pink or green, as you can see right over here. So this can really be helped to adjust a bit of the color right over here, just like that. You don't go all the way in unless you want that effect, but you just slightly remove it to make it seem the way you want, just like that. The other option is hue. So hue changes the entire color of everything, as you can see. So it changes the color spectrum, so the grass color changes. So if you want to make it look like alienated, or you want to give it some effect, you can use the hue option right over here, as you can see. So below that is the brightness option. So I don't want to change any hue, so I'm going to go over here and type in 0, so that doesn't change anything. So if I were to go below right over here, you can see that there's light, toning, fill, and curve options. So let's go with the light option right over here. So if I were to increase the brightness, it adds the brightness to the picture, as you can see. So I do want to add in a brightness, so let me just increase out a bit. So it really makes the picture bright. So I just want to make it a bit bright right over here. The other option is the exposure, which is like brightness, but keeps the contrast, that is dark areas, in mind and increases the brightness accordingly. So usually I like to use the exposure more than the brightness, because it does not blow out the picture altogether, as you can see, but it keeps the contrast over here, as you can see right over there. So I can just go over here and then work around with this. So I'm gonna go around with this, and then gonna go around over here on the bottom. There's the contrast, as you can see. So I can increase the contrast, and that changes the difference between the black and white. So you can see right over here that there's not much of a change, but if I were to really increase the contrast, you can see that the dark areas become really dark and the bright areas become really bright, as you can see. So that is what contrast does. It increases the difference between black and white. So I do want to increase the contrast out a bit. So you can see that it is a bit hazy right over here, but if I were to increase the contrast a bit, then it becomes a bit more detailed. So a lot of the options right here, you don't want to change it too much, but you just want to change it to the just right amount. The blacks control only the black areas right over here, as you can see right over here. So it only controls the dark areas, whereas the white controls the bright areas right here. But instead of controlling black and white, usually, first of all, what I like to do is control the highlights and the shadows, which are bright, like white and black, but preserves a bit of a detail. So you can go over here and then you can see that you can change the highlight. So I do really want to increase the highlight right over here, not too much, but just a bit. And you can darken out the shadows right over here, or increase out the shadows to get the detail out of the shadow areas right over here. So I'm just going to decrease out the shadow a bit, and then I can work around with black and white for a more dynamic change right over here, as you can see. So just like that, you can get the look you want over here. So we have taken a look at color and light, and now let's take a look at toning right over here. So toning is like I can increase the amount, and whatever color you choose, for example, if you were to choose blue right here, increase the toning, it gives it a bluish look. So you want an Instagram-like effect, then you can actually do that right over here by using toning. But I don't want any on mine, so I'm just going to give it as it is. But there's two options for toning as well. So there's one as highlight and other one as shadows. So if I were to go over here and select, let's say, for example, I'm going to select purple for highlight. So if I were to increase it out, all the bright areas, as you can see, is covered by purple right over here. But if I were to go to shadows, all the dark areas now will be covered with green right over here, as you can see. So if I were to go over to shadows, and now you can see that if I were to increase the amount, the bright areas are covered with purple and the dark areas is covered with green. So that is what the toning does. But I do not want to add in any on mine because I want the natural outlook right over here. So that's something you can use for different type of effects as well. The other one is the fill. So that is similarly, like you can increase this out and you can see that you can fill it out with a color. So it's actually like putting a layer of color on top of a picture and then using the blending mode right over here. So you can go over here and making it transparent, right? As you can see, you can choose different blending modes. So you can go over here onto screen, and you can go on over to overlay. So you can see the lesson on blending mode itself to be more clear about it as well. So you can see color burn and so forth. Everything can be applied. And then you can change the amount of color right over here to change its level of intensity, as you can see right over here. So I do want a bit of a green right over here to give it a different kind of a look, as you can see. So I'm gonna go do more of like hard light or maybe an overlay, just like that. Multiply is too dark, so I'm just going to go for a soft light and increase this out, and you can see that the range of color changes a bit. So this is what I want. And then we have the curves right over here, as you can see. So this is just the highlights and shadows itself, as you can see right over here. So I can double click to add in a point right over here, as you can see, or I can move this around. So you can see that I can double click to add in a point. The point on the top right over here, this actually controls the highlights, as you can see. So only the bright areas are being controlled over here. And then the bottom side over here controls the dark areas right over here, as you can see. And the middle areas controls the midtones, that is the midway colors right over here. So this can be used to maybe make this area a bit dark and this area a bit bright, as you can see. So you can manually control the contrast actually. You can also work around with the individual colors like red, green, and blue right over here. So let's say you want to decrease the amount of red, you can just simply pull this out, and the amount of red from the shadows are actually pulled off, as you can see right over here. So you can control the amount just like this. So you can control the amount of shadows, shadow reds, and make it more green right over here. You can also work around with the green color, as you can see, and you can also work around with the blue color. So you want to give like this kind of a look. You can see that this looks beautiful just like that. So I can work around with the shadows over here as well, just like that, to arrange out the look I want. And curve gives you a more of a graphical outlook to the things that you're editing, and you can work around with them. So that's how you work around with curve. The other option you have is like black and white and invert. We also took took a look at this in the beginning, but let us take a look at it now as well. So an invert simply inverts the colors along with the effect. Black and white. Now this is interesting. So if you shoot a color photo and then convert it into black and white, then you got more ways to control it out. So that is what is suggested for many of the photographers if they want to edit out the pictures. Because like you know that this area is blue. So if I were to turn out black and white, and if I were to go around to curves and work around with the blue, you can see that only blue areas are controlled. So even if the picture is black and white, we can control parts of the picture separately, as you can see. So I can go around to green and then work around with only the green areas, as you can see. So let's say I want to work with green dark areas, so I can go over here. You can see that I can just work around with the green and get a different outlook on black and white as well. So that's something that's handy as well. So let me just go back over here because I don't want a black and white picture. So that's something handy if you are working with a black and white image with a color image. So shoot a color picture and then later convert into black and white if you want to have the final output as black and white, so that you have more control over everything while you're actually editing right over here. So that's something you can do as well. And these are all of the options available for the adjust option inside of Canvas. So you can really go over here onto the top. So let's just go over here, and I'm going to see, let's see over here. So this is the before, as you can see right over here. And as I apply everything, it actually becomes this, as you can see right here. So this and this right over here. So that's the difference, as you can see. So this got turned into this after we moved on all of the sliders. So that is how you can work with adjust inside of Pixlr X. So hope you guys learned something as always. And as always, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.